Welcome to the Keto Keep It Off podcast, the place where you will find the unfiltered truth about what happens after losing a huge amount of weight and the challenges we all face in keeping that weight off no matter how you did it. Everything bariatric, everything weight loss drugs, and everything to help you keep your weight off for life. 100% facts, 100% experience, and 0% bullshit. I'm your host, Mel Harris, the founder of the Keto Method, and today I want to take a deep dive, literally, into everything water. Get ready for the most interesting conversation about water that you will ever have had. Welcome to this week's episode. Water is something I get asked about all the time, one way or another. I mean, if I earned £1 for every time someone said, I don't like it, or why do we have to drink so much? Oh, what else? I could never drink that much, or I keep forgetting. Well, I'd be a millionaire many times over. So why do you think we need to drink water? Now, I can tell you the answer I get mostly from that question. And it's likely to be the same answer that you just came up with. It's because we are mainly made up of water. And that is true. But when I then ask, what do you mean by mainly? What percentage of our body is actually water? I usually get shrug of the shoulders, followed by some kind of guesstimate between 80 and 90%. And I certainly used to think we must be at least 80% water because people tell us all the time we are made up of water. But if I'm really honest, I couldn't equate that with reality. I don't think I ever really believed it. How is it possible that we could be made up of that much water and not evaporate on a hot day? Or literally slosh when we walk? And why on earth would we need to drink more water if we were made up of water? Look, the true answer about what percentage of us is made up of water depends on who we are. An adult human body is approximately 55 to 60% water. Yes, more than half, but not 80 to 90%. Babies are more. They're about 75% water, and older adults, they're closer to 50%. So yes, the human body is roughly 60% water, but that water isn't sitting there in us like water in a bottle. It is actually locked inside our cells. It's bound up with proteins, salts, and other structures that actually hold it in place. Think of it less like a bag of water and more like a sponge or a gel. The water is everywhere within your sponge, but it's held tightly within millions of tiny compartments. That's why you don't slosh when you walk. The water isn't free moving. It's part of a structure. And as for evaporation, water doesn't just disappear through your body the way it might do from a puddle. Your skin works as a barrier, a very clever one. It is designed to keep water in and the outside world out. We do lose water through our skin all the time, but it's done slowly and in a controlled way. And when it's hot, your body sweats on purpose. That's not us evaporating, that's our cooling system kicking in. And then sweat sits on the surface of our skin, and that's what evaporates to cool us down. And your internal water stays protected. Now, the next thing is one that people often trip over. If we're already made of water, why do we need to drink more? It's because our body is constantly losing water, all the time. Every time we breathe, when we're sweating, peeing, pooing, even just existing. Every breath we take carries water vapor out of your body. Every time we go to the loo, we lose fluid. And your body can't make enough water on its own to replace that loss. The water inside you is busy all day long. It's doing jobs non-stop. It's carrying nutrients, it's removing waste, it's keeping our blood flowing, it's helping our brain to fire properly, it's protecting our joints, and it's keeping our temperature stable. So when we don't replace the water we lose, the body has to start rationing. And it does that by thickening our blood. That slows things down. Your body has to start rationing. And it does that by thickening our blood, slowing things down, and prioritizing just the essentials. And that's when we start to feel tired, headachy, foggy, constipated, or suddenly snacky for no clear reason. So drinking water isn't about topping up a tank that's already full. It's about replacing what we're losing so that our system can keep running smoothly. And here's something that really surprises people. Not drinking enough water, being dehydrated, can actually slow down our weight loss. As you lose fat and your body's work to keep our muscles, the percentage of water in your body can go up, even though the overall body weight and total water volume go down. Sounds confusing, but what it means is that water becomes more important, not less, as we lose weight. Water isn't sitting there doing nothing. I've already told you it's busy all day long. It's metabolically active. Research has shown that when we drink water, it temporarily increases metabolic rate. And this happens because your body has to work hard to warm the water to body temperature and then process it. And when you zoom this out to real life, this matters. By drinking around 2 litres of water spread out across the day, it has been estimated to increase our daily energy expenditure by roughly to 70 to 100 calories. Now, it doesn't sound too dramatic, but over the course of a year, if we lose 70 to 100 calories every day merely by drinking enough water, that can add up to several kilos of fat loss. And that is without changing your food or your exercise. It's not magic. It's simply your body working more efficiently. We've all heard mention of a slow metabolism. Oh, in order to lose weight, we need to speed up our metabolism. Well, water helps to prevent metabolic slowdown. If we are dehydrated, our metabolic rate can be reduced by around 2 to 3%. Now, that might not sound like much, 2 to 3%, but if we're already eating less, by not drinking enough water, we will either lose weight far more slowly or stop losing it altogether. The process of breaking down fat, surprise, surprise, also requires water. Research published explains that when we're dehydrated, our kidneys struggle to clear the waste products created when fat is broken down. So you can actually be doing all the hard work of burning fat, but your body can't process and remove the byproducts efficiently because there isn't enough water in the system. So water isn't just about staying hydrated. In some vague wellness buzzword way, it's about giving your body the basic environment it needs to function properly, including burning fat, protecting your metabolism, and keeping everything moving as it should. I know only too well that drinking 1.5 to 2 litres of water is no mean feat. We can't drink with meals. We can only drink 30 minutes before or after our meals. When we drink, there is less room in our stomachs for protein and other nutrients. It flushes food through our systems far too quickly, meaning we feel hungry again sooner rather than later. And I've already mentioned in another episode the effect that can have on dumping syndrome. But when the food is flushed through our system that quickly, we feel hungry again sooner rather than later, and this means we are likely to consume 20 to 30% more calories every day in order to try and compensate for the added hunger. And that's without mentioning the possible pain and discomfort of bloating and nausea that can come when we drink with our food. But if we really get pedantic about this, if we get 8 hours sleep, That leaves 16 hours left in a day when we're awake. But we need to eat 5 to 6 times every day. We can't drink 30 minutes before or 30 minutes after those meals. So that, in effect, only leaves us 10 to 11 hours within which we can drink our water. That's basically 150 mils per hour constantly, and that can be a challenge. It's especially a challenge if we have a reduced stomach. We cannot just chug it down like we used to. Water is heavy. Think about when you're carrying those big bottles of water. They're heavy. If we chug it down, it is going to land in our stomachs like it's a lead balloon, and that bloody hurts. I know. I also found it to make me feel uncomfortably full. It's really difficult also to think about drinking if we don't feel thirsty. But that's actually the best time to drink. Because by the time we feel thirsty and we've got a dry mouth, etc., we are already dehydrated. To make it work, some research from Imperial College London found that both metabolic surgery, remember that's the new name for weight loss surgery, bariatric surgery, and changes to the GLP-1 hormone affect our thirst signals. Blood tests show dehydration, and yet the patient doesn't feel thirsty. So you must drink regularly, maybe on a schedule, whether you feel thirsty or not. But, and I know this is a big but, we've also got to get 80 to 120 grams of protein in. We've got to take our multiple vitamins and supplements. We've got to eat 5 to 6 small meals, and we're not allowed to drink with our meals. We've got to get 1.5 to 2 litres of fluid, and we've got to manage work, our family life. This is like taking up 3 to 4 hours of our day when you also include prepping our meals and eating slowly. So if you are struggling to drink enough water, you're not alone. You're actually facing a genuinely difficult logistical and physiological challenge. But it is a challenge worth solving because the consequences of chronic dehydration are serious. Now let's talk about dehydration, not the severe emergency dehydration that lands you in hospital, but the mild dehydration, the kind where you're drinking less than the required amount of 1.5 to 2 litres a day, and say you're only getting 800 ml to a litre per day. The immediate effect would be constipation, and this is by far the most common. Our colons reabsorb water from our stools, but when we are dehydrated, it reabsorbs even more water, and that in turn creates hard, dry stools. Constipation. Another common effect we face is fatigue and brain fog. Our brains are 75% water. And research that's been published in the Journal of Nutrition showed that all it needs is a 1 or 2% dehydration, and it will impair our cognitive function, our reaction time, our attention span, our short-term memory. They're all affected, as is our mood. Many people experience mood changes, irritability and anxiety, and that's only with a 2% drop in our dehydration. Even milder dehydration will cause headaches, difficulty concentrating, and make our tasks feel harder to perform. How often do we hear ourselves saying that I'm really tired, so I'm obviously not eating enough, or I've got low blood sugar? Well, actually, it's more likely that we're dehydrated. Now, a lower blood volume equals lower blood pressure. And when we've got low blood pressure, it means that if we stand up quickly, our blood, instead of going to our head, it goes into the lower part of our legs. And therefore, not enough blood reaches the brain quickly enough, so we get dizzy, lightheaded, sometimes people faint. Our kidneys are also affected because they rely heavily on filtering water, about 150 to 180 litres of fluid every day. What the kidneys do is they concentrate it down to 1 or 2 litres of urine. A more concentrated urine can cause kidney stones. And over time, it leads to an increased risk of chronic kidney disease. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if you have ever had a kidney infection, the pain is something off the chart. I genuinely remember that there was one time when I had cystitis and I didn't get it treated quickly enough and it became a kidney infection. And I was in so much pain from that kidney infection that we called the GP and he said, look, you need to come into the surgery. So we drove down there and I literally could not get out of the car. And bless him, my GP came and treated me in the car park. I wouldn't wish this on any of you. Now, I've already mentioned that being dehydrated can actually hinder our weight loss. So let's talk about that for a moment, because that always gets everybody's attention. When we are dehydrated, our bodies, wait for it, our bodies hold on to water. Now, I know it sounds crazy, but this is our pesky little hormones at work again. When we're dehydrated, the body releases an antidiuretic. It's an antidiuretic hormone. And this little hormone makes our kidneys retain water. And it does that by creating a temporary water weight. Now, that is a physical weight in our body. It's temporary, but it means that our scales don't move even though fat is being lost. Remember the study I mentioned earlier? Dehydration reduces metabolism by 2 to 3%. Well, that's 40 to 60 fewer calories being burned every day. Over a month, that's 1,200 to 1,800 calories not being burned. And over a year, that's potentially 6 to 9 kilos in weight. It's anything up to 2 stone. Another thing is that I know we all struggle big time with hunger. Those people that I help that have had weight loss surgery find that incredibly confusing, and they're convinced they are doing something wrong. And those clients that I help that are using weight loss injections are also convinced that the injection is no longer working, and they get really frustrated. And as a result, we all have to work harder to ensure that that frustration or that disappointment doesn't lead to sabotaging behavior. And if you are one of those people, listen to this. These facts, like all the facts I state, come from published research. I've already mentioned that the brain is 75% water. Well, when we don't drink enough of the stuff, the region of the brain that regulates our hunger and our thirst can confuse the thirst signals for hunger signals. So we think we're hungry and we eat, when actually we were thirsty. Next time you feel hungry between meals and snacks, consider that you are probably thirsty, because that would be the perfect time to get your water in. Not only are our brains 75% water, so are our muscles. So even mild dehydration reduces our strength and endurance by 10 to 20%. Chronic dehydration will accelerate muscle breakdown during weight loss. And that is something none of us want to risk. Check out my episode on protein. We work hard to preserve our muscles with adequate protein intake. But if you're dehydrated, you are sabotaging all of that effort. Our skin is 64% water, and it's actually quite often easy to see the effects of dehydration on our skin. But it's only when we know what to look for. The elasticity in our skin is already compromised by rapid and significant weight loss. Hence, many people suffer with excess and sagging skin. But a lack of water can also affect the effectiveness of our body's ability to heal skin wounds. We'll get dry, flaky skin, more visible wrinkles. We don't want that. We lose weight to feel good about ourselves, not give us something else to stress over. It's amazing how many things water affects. Gallstones are another one, and they are very, very common after weight loss surgery. I myself had to have my gallbladder taken out quite early on in my journey. I was actually doing floor exercises, and every time I did a sit-up, I got a really sharp stabbing pain on my right side. It honestly felt like a surgical tool had been left inside me, but actually it turned out it was gallstones. But whether you've had weight loss surgery or not, rapid and significant weight loss coupled with dehydration increases the risks of gallstones. When we don't drink enough, the bile stored in your gallbladder becomes thick and sticky instead of flowing freely. And bile is meant to help digest fat. But when there isn't enough water, cholesterol in the bile can clump together more easily. And over time, those clumps harden and turn into gallstones. So dehydration can literally change the consistency of bile and increase the risk of gallstones forming. So come on, guys. Drink a minimum of 1.5 to 2 litres of water every day. Do what I do. Keep a bottle of water by your side and sip, sip, sip. If you're exercising, you need another 400 to 800 mils for every hour of exercise. If it's hot outside and you're sweating a lot, add another half to a full litre. If you're not well, you've had a fever, you've got vomiting or diarrhea, you're losing water. You need to replace all the water you're losing, or you could end up with A&E with dehydration. But also if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, you will need to increase your intake anything between 300 mils and 1 litre. If you are pregnant or if you are breastfeeding, just check that with your medical team. You know what? It's not all doom and gloom. We have got plenty of choices, and all of these count towards our hydration intake. Plain water, obviously, but you can also have non-caffeinated herbal tea, diluted sugar-free squash or cordial, decaf coffee and tea, but more on that in a moment, sugar-free flavoured water, a bone broth like a chicken broth or a beef broth, and they also provide electrolytes and protein. Ice lollies made from sugar-free drinks. Jelly. Yes, jelly is considered water. And as long as you make it with sugar-free jelly crystals, lovely. But these are things that don't count. Caffeinated tea and coffee. Alcohol particularly, because it is very dehydrating. Sugary drinks, because you're also at risk of dumping syndrome and empty calories. And remember, when you get dumping syndrome, you're also losing a lot more fluid. And also protein shakes, because they'll count towards your protein goals, but not hydration. So how do you know if you are hydrated enough? The easiest way to do it is to actually check your pee. If your wee is pale yellow or clear, well done, guys, you are very well hydrated, and that's what you have to aim for. If it's yellow, you are hydrated, it's acceptable, but remember to aim for the clear or the pale yellow. If your urine is dark yellow or amber, you are dehydrated. You need to drink more. But let me tell you something. If your pee is brown or orange, you are so severely dehydrated, you need to seek medical advice. There are some caveats. For example, B vitamins in your multivitamin can turn urine bright yellow regardless of hydration. So look at your wee first thing in the morning before you take your supplements, because then it will be more accurate. The same applies to iron. That also changes the colour of your wee. Now, a lot of my community find that a strategy helps them. So they time block their hydration. Don't just drink throughout the day. If it helps, create a structured schedule. Set phone alarms for every hydration block to remind you to drink water. Another strategy would be to make water more appealing. I know that plain water can be boring, and when something is boring or hard, you don't do it consistently. So add cucumber and mint, or lemon and lime slices, strawberry and basil, orange and blueberry, ginger slices. And if you let these things infuse overnight in the fridge, next day you've got a really fabulous and healthy nutritional bottle of water to drink. And here's another thing you can do. And if you're listening on audio, I'm about to grab my water bottle. This is my new best friend. Get one of these. Get a big 2-litre one if you want. Get 2 small 1-litre bottles if you want, but they're marked. My one says, when it's there at the top, it says drink up, and it goes down to halfway there, and then it goes keep going, and then it tells me I'm nearly there, and then at the bottom it finally tells me I've made it. It's great, okay? This goes everywhere with me. And honestly, investing in one of these or two of these, which would even be better, it's worth every penny. You fill them up every morning and you know that you have to finish them before you go to bed. It's a visual reminder of how much you have left. When both of your bottles are empty, or if your big 2-litre bottle is empty, goal achieved. Just keep them everywhere. Keep one bottle at your desk, one bottle in your car, one bottle by your bed. Wherever you are, make sure that, like mine, it's within arm's reach. Yes, I just had a sip. Now, plain water is good, but sometimes we need electrolytes, especially if we're exercising or if it's very hot outside, if we're experiencing dizziness or fatigue. And often when we do drink this much water, especially if we drink more than 2.5 litres, we can actually dilute our electrolytes. Now, electrolytes are available at pretty much every pharmacy or health shop you go into. Remember to use them when you're exercising. Use them during illness, diarrhea and vomiting. Use them during hot weather, if you've had bad dumping syndrome, if you're experiencing muscle cramps or dizziness or fatigue. If you're experiencing muscle cramps or dizziness or fatigue, even though you've been drinking adequate water. Apart from water and liquids, we can actually get hydrated from certain foods because certain foods are water rich. They don't replace drinking fluids, but these are some foods that are really high in water content. Cucumber, that's 96% water. Lettuce, celery, tomatoes, watermelon is 92%. Strawberries, broccoli, like I mentioned earlier, soup or broths. But remember, these foods supplement drinking. They don't replace it. You still need your 1.5 to 2 litres of actual fluids. Another tip I can give you, to be honest, is try linking drinking water with an existing habit. For example, you brush your teeth every morning. So after you brush your teeth, drink 250 mils of water. When I sit down at my desk, I'll drink some water. After I take my vitamins, I'll drink some water, because these are things that you do without even thinking about it. Yeah, so when we do things that we don't necessarily think about, all the habits that we develop during the day, and you've probably got all of your own habits. I certainly have a morning routine, and I know that I will do certain things at certain times, and I use those. And in fact, if I think about it, I believe that by linking my water to my own habits has got me to a point now where I actually don't even think about drinking water. It just happens. Somehow I get to the end of every day and I have drunk all my water. I think that's a really valuable tip for you. But what if water makes you nauseous? Because a lot of people will say that to me. Try drinking your water at different temperatures. Warm water might be easier for you than cold water. For me, it's the other way around. I prefer cold water to warm water. But also sip it slowly. My wonderful water bottle has got a little, almost like it's like a baby's cup where it's got a teat I can drink from. Sip slowly, regularly, every 5 to 10 minutes, rather than sipping or drinking 150 mils at once. And also, if you add ginger is a natural anti-nausea thing, so it might be worth adding ginger. If it's really severe, if you can't find a way around it, please speak to your medical team, because it might indicate a stricture or some other issue. If you don't like the taste of water, and I'm pausing and I'm smiling here, because I have a big thing about people telling me they don't like something. I have done a whole podcast episode about our taste buds. And I have also got a challenge that I set people about their taste buds. So, for now, I'm going to be nice. I will let you tell me that you don't like the taste of water. But often, it's the dehydration talking. Honestly, please trust me, when you're properly hydrated, water actually tastes good. I now love water. And I was somebody who never, ever drank it. More about that in another episode. And like I said before, flavour it. If you want, you can flavour it quite heavily at first, and you can gradually reduce the flavour over time. And also try filtered water if if you find that tap water has got an off taste, or you don't like the idea of drinking out of a tap because, I don't know, my thing at the time was, oh, those pipes have been underground for years, hundreds and hundreds of years. Well, okay, fine. So try filtered water. I don't necessarily want you to go out and buy loads and loads of bottled water because we have to think about the planet. But get a water filter. Again, it's an investment that's worth making. What's the famous one that Brita water filter. Fill it up regularly, stick it in your fridge, or keep it at room temperature if you prefer. But also you can now get machines. Some of them don't need to be plugged in, and they can just sit on your kitchen top and you can get filtered water that way. And I know a lot of people that have got those machines and they actually love the water. They swear that they can taste the difference between even bottled water and the water that comes out of these machines. So it's worth looking into. A lot of people just tell me they're tired about thinking about it. And okay, it's kind of valid. It is exhausting. I honestly think that when most of us decided to go on GLP-1s or have metabolic surgery, one of the things we thought would happen is that we would no longer have to think about food, including water and what we drink, as often as we did beforehand. Because before surgery, before the wonderful GLP-1s, we would think about food all the time. And we thought that wouldn't happen. But in reality, we have to think about it more because we have to prepare more. We have to be more conscious of what we eat. And now we have to be more conscious about what we drink and how much of it we drink. And yes, it can be exhausting. Like I say, make it a habit, automate it as much as you can, same routines every day. That way you don't need to think about it, you don't need to remember it. And I promise you, it will get easier. I know this is a lot to take in. And I know you're thinking, do I really have to plan my entire day about drinking water? Well, kind of, yes. But honestly, here's what happens. After a few months of intentional hydration, your body adapts. You will recognize your thirst signals more accurately, and the habit becomes automatic. Many of my community who are 2 to 3 years out tell me I don't even think about it anymore. I just drink water throughout the day. I'm one of those people, and I'm now 21 years post-surgery. But obviously you've got to build that habit first, and that takes time and it takes effort. Here are some of the things that our community have shared with us, and they have allowed me to tell you about it on the podcast, and I'm even allowed to mention their names. Now, this is Sharon, and she was one of our first members, and I know she's listening, so hi Sharon. And she said, I have 2 1-litre water bottles, and every morning I put rubber bands around them, and every time I take a sip I remove a rubber band, and once all the rubber bands are off of both of my 2-litre bottles, I know I've had my daily quota. Well done, Sharon, that's really quite ingenious, although you're using an awful lot of rubber bands. Anyway, Fazana told me that she makes a big batch of iced herbal tea every Sunday, like 3 litres of it. She pours that into 4 750ml bottles, and every day she grabs a bottle. It's cold, it's flavoured, and she actually enjoys drinking it versus forcing down plain water. Fazana, I hope you're drinking more than just 1 750ml bottle every day. I'm sure you are. This is Graham. Now, Graham says that he has to track his water and he does it on an app. But he has learned that drinking time for him is 8 to 10 o'clock at night. It's when he's home, he's relaxed, he's watching TV, and he can just continuously sip for 2 hours. He reckons that he drinks about half of his daily quota in that period. Now, look, Graham, I'm really glad that you found something that works for you. But I would not necessarily recommend this because it's a bit of an overload to drink that much water in such a short amount of time. And apart from that, you're going to be up all night going to loo when what you really need is your rest. However, yes, we're all different, and I guess it's better late than never. I'd rather you got the water in than you didn't. But maybe you'd want to rethink that a bit. Everybody, not just Graham. There's our 3 contributions for this week's podcast. Right, so let's bring this home. And what I want you to understand is your body is a sophisticated chemical system. Every single process, from burning fat to building muscle to thinking clearly to fighting injections, it all happens in a water-based medium. Water isn't just important, it is our foundation. You can eat perfect protein, you can avoid sugar flawlessly, you can exercise consistently, but if you're chronically dehydrated, you are undermining all of that. I know that hydration feels like one more thing on an already overwhelming list of post-surgery, post-weight loss, GLP-1 requirements. But here's the good news. Unlike protein, which requires planning, cooking, and calculating, water's simple. It doesn't require a recipe, it doesn't require a food scale, it just requires consistency. Fill your bottle, set your alarm, drink on the schedule, do that for 100 days and it becomes automatic. Once it's automatic, you never have to think about it again. I really hope you've enjoyed today's podcast. And if you have, please share it with the bariatric community and the GLP community, or indeed anybody you know whom you feel might benefit from listening in. As always, I want you to feel inspired and I want you to feel motivated by our podcasts. So if there is a specific topic or a question that you would like me to address, just let me know. You can do it via our website, which is keromethod.com, or on any of our social media platforms. All of the details are below, as always, in the show notes. And please let me know what you think. I love getting your feedback. And you know the drill, guys. Don't forget, subscribe, like, and comment. And I'll see you next time.